This is a map made in Half-Life 2's map editor called Hammer, and it is for any of its episodes or the regular game itself, or any mod like Manwich Odyssey. It is meant to show off a more complex squad spawning system that revolves around five entities, specifically a math counter and a point template and an entity maker. I took this script, broke it down from a Street Wars map called Day 3 City 1707. In that map, you and Alex attack a Combine checkpoint, disable the gate, and while you're doing that, squads of Combine soldiers attack you. And I wanted to copy that script and put it into a map, and this is that effort. The way that this squad spawning works is that both squads have a logic auto, a logic relay, a math counter, and the other entities. And most of these work together in order to constantly reproduce the squad once it has been eliminated. The way that the squad respawns is that every time one of them dies, it tells the math counter to add one, and then once the math counter gets to 3, it will respawn the entire squad. Once the entire squad is spawned, the entity maker tells the math counter to subtract everything that was added so it goes right back down to where it started, which is 0. The logic relay only has the entities fire once, it only spawns the squad once, and then it relies on the math counter to take over after that. The point template works with the entity maker to tell it what squad to spawn, specifically the NPCs, and the entity maker tells the schedules and standoffs and stuff to activate once the NPCs are spawned. To break down the entities for the NPCs, everyone has a relationship to ignore the player. Everyone has a standoff to make sure that they use cover, and everyone has a schedule to tell them what to do. This squad's objective is to go all the way to the very top of this hill and to kill this Combine commander at the very top of this building. The citizens are fighting the Combine soldiers who use the exact same script. It uses a logic auto, which goes to a relay and a regulator or a math counter. And the logic auto at first triggers the relay, which then triggers the spawn, which then has the math counter take over, and it does the exact same thing where once a Combine soldier dies, it tells the math counter to add 1 until it gets to 4, and then it will respawn the whole squad. A really important note about the math counter is that if it doesn't count correctly, it will screw up and it will constantly spawn more soldiers incorrectly. Like I said before, also with the citizen spawn, the math counter is cleared once the squad is spawned, so that way it never counts over or counts under. It always counts to 4 from 0. And it will only count to 4 once an individual soldier has died. And basically, another way that the script works is that both squads will continually spawn until their commander is dead. And the Combine have this commander up here. On his death, he tells the relay to kill the trigger. Not the trigger, excuse me. It does trigger the relay, but the trigger is told to kill the entity maker, so that way they can't respawn anymore. Same thing for Barney. He's a lot tougher, so he probably won't die, but if he dies, the citizens will stop respawning. And the only thing that's different between the citizens and soldiers is that the soldiers are told to go to specific entities right here called special hints, and they're basically just there to make it look like they are assembling to a defensive position on the very top of this. That's basically how the whole script works. It makes use of a battle line to tell the commander not to go too far. It uses hint groups to logically group together all the hints that should be used. It uses one hint group, simply called generic. All the NPCs on the map use it, and it makes use of filler nodes that are just there to make sure that the NPCs know additional places to stand and shoot from. Barney's schedule is re-triggered every single time a Combine soldier dies, so that way he never forgets to kill the commander. It not just tells the math counter to add 1, but it also tells Barney's schedule to restart. And the reason why this would be used instead of a template maker is because this respawns the whole squad instead of just one of them, and it can effectively use different NPCs in that squad. Like, one could be a shotgunner, one could be an AR2 guy, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't need to be one NPC. and it doesn't need to be a single template. It can be as many as you'd like. I think all the way up to 16, which is way too many for a squad. Um, some of the names for the soldiers aren't correct. Like, for example, this says OICW, and that is actually an SMG1. That's a holdover from another map I was making this on, which was made in a episode 2 mod called Manwich Odyssey, which I recommend checking out. But aside from that, that's basically how the whole map works, and I don't believe I'm forgetting anything, so goodbye.